Hello everyone, welcome to UPSCpedia. Today we are going to solve some questions from History and Art and Culture section of UPSC Civil Services Prelims exam of 2021. Before starting this video, let us first understand the aim of this video series. The aim of this video series is not about gathering knowledge as well as content from these questions, but understanding three important things. First is application of limited amount of knowledge to solve maximum number of question. Second is application of this knowledge and elimination techniques which are based on the calculated risks. And third, which is most important, that is practice, because as we all know, whenever a woodcutter goes to chop some of the log of woods, he always sharpens his axe. So with this, let us first move to our very first question, which is related to Vijayanagara Empire. So first question says, according to Portuguese writer Nunes, the women in Vijayanagara Empire were expert in which of the following areas? So they have mentioned four areas: wrestling, astrology, accounting, and soothsaying. Now select the correct answer using the code given below. The code is 1, 2, 3 only, 1, 3, 4 only, 2 and 4 only, and all the options 1, 2, 3, 4. So considering this, let us first understand this question very properly. You cannot pick any of the one activity which has been given or one of the choice, that is wrestling, astrology, accounting, soothsaying, and say that these were given to the women in the Vijayanagara Empire. So blatantly applying any elimination technique won't work here. But if you try to understand some background regarding Vijayanagara Empire, if you try to apply some knowledge, definitely then we can come to a good conclusion and come to a desired answer which is expected in exam. So first let us understand wrestling. We all know, astrology also we all know about, accounting also we all know about, but here most of the students were very confused. Soothsaying is nothing but prophecy. It can be also called as future telling. Okay, so where women in Vijayanagara Empire were expert in which of the four choices given below? So before jumping to conclusions and bringing the answer, let's first go to the background of Vijayanagara Empire, because the main subject here is rather Vijayanagara Empire and the subtopic is the women in Vijayanagara Empire. So this question, in spite it is from history, this question is actually a difficult question. The level of this question is difficult, or you may call it tough, and moreover it is not from the common sources such as NCERTs or even other ancient sources which we read commonly in UPSC. But still we can apply the background knowledge of Vijayanagara Empire to solve this question. So what was the women's position in the Vijayanagara Empire? If we try to analyze this, we'll definitely get the answer. So if we read Vijayanagara Empire comprehensively, we could understand that women almost participated in all walks of life. They had a higher position in political, social, as well as economic aspects. Even in NCERT, it has been mentioned that the reign of Krishnadev Raya, women were bodyguards of Krishnadev Raya as well as the watchkeepers or the watchwomen. So through this we could understand that women had an higher position in the Vijayanagara Empire. So the answer actually of this question, if you are well aware of Vijayanagara Empire and the status of women, the answer comes to be all. The answer here is all. 1, 2, 3, 4. And why? Because Nunes, the Portuguese traveled during the reign of Achyuta Devaraya of Tuluvu dynasty, and he mentioned that women of Vijayanagara Empire almost participated in every activity. They were given higher positions in royal palaces. So they were wrestlers, they were accountants, they were in astrology, they were even in judiciary department, they were even soothsayers. So with this we could understand that women almost participated in all the aspects and they had various positions in Vijayanagara Empire. So answer is D here. Let's move to the next question. So here we could understand how background knowledge as well as application of knowledge could not make you come to exact answer in UPSC, but rather at least eliminate some of the options or give you a overall picture of the question, and then you can precisely come to the desired answer. So now let's go to the next question, which is related to Chaushat Yogini temple. So why Chaushat Yogini temple was asked? It is a history question as well as it is a current affairs question. Though the level of this question is easy, and this could be covered from current affairs also, and even from internet sources as it was in current affairs. So let's read this question. With reference to Chaushat Yogini temple situated near Morena, which is in close to Gwalior in MP, consider the following statements. It is a circular temple built during the reign of Kachapagatta dynasty. Second, it is only circular temple built in India. Third, it was meant to promote Vaishnava cult in the region. And fourth, its design has given rise to popular belief that it was inspiration behind the Indian Parliament building. So this statement everybody was knowing as a student because it was in current affairs and everybody knows it. So options are 1 and 2 only, 2 and 3 only, 1 and 4 only, and 2, 3 and 4 only. Now I want you to concentrate on this second statement. It is the only circular temple built in India, and we will discuss on this statement later. But let's first try to analyze the concept of this question. So even the first question which we discussed about, the Portuguese Nunes question, this was also in current affairs because there was an article in Hindu Business Line that Alpha Women of Vijayanagara Empire. But it doesn't mean that you start reading all the newspaper. Definitely some subjects would be covered in the news and they would be either current affairs or contemporary affairs. But the static part which it's connected to is you should always revise it so as we have the information regarding it and we are able to eliminate the options very clearly. So now let us concentrate to the second and third statement which I talked about. So it is a circular temple built during the reign of Kachapagatta dynasty. So either this temple was built during the reign of Kachapa dynasty or it was not. Second is it's the only circular temple built in India. Now you can't blatantly say that okay, only is there, that's why I would eliminate this circular this statement which is circular temple built in India. Now this works for this question, but it may not work in all the questions. The third statement is it was meant to promote the Vaishnava cult in the region. So either it promoted Vaishnava cult in the region or it promoted either a different cult or different religion. And fourth statement we all know which is correct. So let's come to answer or devise the answer. So generally if you apply elimination technique here, you will definitely come to answer. Even knowledge is not required here in some of the questions of UPSC. So you could see here only is there. If you eliminate 2, first option is gone, first option is gone, second option is gone, and even the fourth option is gone. The third is the right answer. But let's do a logical deduction here. We will not blatantly come to the answer, but rather we'll try to, the answer here is 1 and 4, but we'll try to do a logical guess here with calculated risk. So first we know that it is the only circular temple built in India. It cannot be possible where India has more than 20 to 30,000 temples of different region in different region and of different religion. It could be very blatant statement to say that it is the only circular temple in the country. Second thing, it was meant to promote the Vaishnava cult in the region. Now here's a very beautiful logic. You concentrate on this term Yogini. Now Yogini is a word which is attested to Mahashakti. Okay, so Yogini gives Mahashakti. Yogini gives Mahashakti, and from Mahashakti we can denote that it is connected to Mahadeva. Am I right? And Mahadeva is nobody else but Shiva, right? So Shaivites. So this is one of the beautiful logical deductions here we can make from this question, and your answer would be more clearer. That then as you eliminated 2, automatically 3 also, and the options which have 3, those also would be eliminated. So your answer comes automatically C. So let's now come to the explanation of the question. So explanation of this question says that Chaushat Yogini temple was definitely built during the Kachapagatta dynasty, and it was built by the ruler which was known as Devpala of Kachapagatta dynasty. Now it is not the only circular temple built in India. There are different temples which would be circular, and it is related to Shaivite cult only. So there is a main shrine, and there are 64 shrines, subsidiary shrines, which are surrounding the main shrine. Initially, yogini were placed in each of the shrine, but later yoginis were replaced by Shiva. Okay, Shivlinga. The yoginis were replaced by Shivlinga, and the same like the, if you see the structure or the infrastructure of this yogini temple, it resembles, or the inspirations have been taken from this temple to build the Indian parliament system. So that was all about this question. Now let's move to the next question. So next question is one of the toughest question in the history section, that is with reference to Mandanapalle of Andhra Pradesh. Which one of the following statement is correct? Now why this is tough? So first thing is that this is from history and static, of course, but it is also related to current affairs, because this was also news in Hindu, that how the Janagana Mana got its tune. This was the headline in the news. So you have to be always well aware with the newspapers also to get the background static information regarding it. But why it was tough? Because inspired this question or this content could be covered through the static material or common resources, but yet here these options are very confusing. The first option is Pingali Venkaya, who was the first designer of the tricolor Indian national flag. The today's national flag has emerged out of different evolution in the freedom of the national flags. So there were different designs, and the today which we have our design, the saffron, white and green, is as a result of evolution from the freedom struggle. The first ever flag which was designed, it was actually by Pingali Venkaya. But Pingali Venkaya belongs to Andhra Pradesh. That's the most confusing thing here. So first option is very, very confusing. Second option is Pitabi Sitaramaiah led the Quit India movement of Andhra region from here. This is also very confusing. Now Pitabi Sitaramaiah is the same person who was the Gandhian candidate in Tripuri session in 1931, which Subhash Chandra Bose won. So he's the same personality which we are talking about, but he's also same from Andhra Pradesh. Now the third thing. So Gurudev Rabindranath Tagore translated national anthem from Bengali to English here. Now this is the third statement. All the three statements are really very confusing. All three have been related to Andhra Pradesh only. Now the D statement, most of the candidates would have eliminated definitely, because Madam Blavatsky and Colonel Olcott set up headquarters of Theosophical Society first in Madras. So it's nowhere related to like Andhra Pradesh. But what about the first three options? So here you cannot even apply any elimination trick. It is very, very difficult. You cannot do that. But if you read a simple NCERT, which is sixth standard social and political life, there in checkered box, below the checkered box, it has been directly mentioned. The same statement has been directly mentioned. So you don't need elimination. You just need a normal reading. Even a sixth standard student who has read this NCERT could solve this question, but this question was one of the toughest for all the candidates, because here nobody could apply their knowledge and even elimination techniques. Answer to this question actually is actually Rabindranath Tagore, Gurudev Rabindranath Tagore ji translated the national anthem from Bengali to English, and like gave it a name as Morning Song of India. The tune to this song was given by Margaret Cousins, who were also who also participated in freedom struggle. This Rabindranath Tagore's Janagana Mana was first sang in Calcutta session in December 27, 1911, and it was adopted by Constitution Assembly as a national anthem on January 24, 1950. Okay, so January 24, 1950. On this date, the Janagana Mana was adopted as a national anthem. So considering this question, now you would have understood that how basic reading of NCERT is really very, very important, and you cannot just apply or pick any of the choices, because in market there have been the elimination techniques are booming here and there, but you cannot blatantly just apply them and come to the answer. Just blatantly application of elimination technique will land you nowhere. You have to have some applied knowledge, and with this applied knowledge and practicing every day these elimination techniques, along with that knowledge, can make your guesswork better. So let's go to the next question. So the next question is about uh, ancient history, IVC. So which one of the following ancient towns is well known for its elaborate system of water harvesting and management by building a series of dams and channelizing water into connected reservoirs? This was a very easy question. It's mentioned in even NCRTs, as well as when we learn about IVC civilization, the important cities become of IVC civilization become like really very important. So the answer here actually is Dholavira. As we all know, Dholavira represents giant water reservoir as well as unique water harnessing systems. So Kalibangan is also important, where some of the remains have been found. Rakigadi is one of the largest site of Indus Valley civilization. So each site had something, where grains were found, which is the where citadel was found. So you should have general information regarding uh, the cities or the regions of the Indus Valley civilization. So this was a direct hit question, low hanging fruit, and you should have been like making this question correct very easily, because this was directly from the sources, and this is a thing which we generally read from NCRTs. So let's go to the next question. So next question is about again ancient India. Considering the following pairs, so historical place is given and what that place is well known for, that is given. So Burzahom rock cut shrines, second Chandra Ketugad for terracotta art, and Ganeshwar for copper artifacts. So as this is a match the following, let's see the options. So first option is 1 only, second is 1 and 2 only, third is 3 only, and D is 2 and 3 only. So when you look at the options, let us first try to like apply the knowledge. Burzahom is the place which represents Neolithic age, or it is a Neolithic site, we could say. Chandraketugad is a pre-Mauryan era region, and here it is a pre-Mauryan region, and here also there are various artifacts as well as terracotta art are found. So this option actually is correct. And if we read Chalcolithic age properly, all the information regarding all the three sites has been given in NCRT. Though this question's level was difficult or tough, but yet if we read the Chalcolithic age and Neolithic age properly, we could be able to solve this question. Why? Because we know that Burzahom rock cut shrines were not there in Burzahom. It's a Neolithic site. Burzahom characterizes not rock cut shrines, but rather the rather pits have been seen, or burial sites where people were buried along with their dogs. The settlement was pit burial system. So here rock cut shrines were not available. So the first one is wrong, and when you eliminate that, you get the answer, which is actually D. D is the answer here, 2 and 3. So even you could get a hint from Ganeshwar Jodhpur copper culture, because in Chalcolithic age we know that copper have been found in various of the places of Rajasthan as well as Chalcolithic sites, and Ganeshwar Jodhpur culture is one of the important regions of Chalcolithic area. So this Ganeshwar copper complex is also mentioned in Indus Valley civilization, because there was trade between IBC and this Chalcolithic site. So from that we can get an idea that 3 is absolutely correct, because it is an Chalcolithic site. This Ganeshwar Jodhpur complex is situated in the northeastern part of Rajasthan. So definitely it had a trade connection with Indus Valley civilization. And Burzahom, the burial pit system, has been mentioned in various NCRTs. So from this we can definitely solve this question. We could eliminate 1, and then we are at 3 and 2 only. Second option here is not mentioned in any of the sources, but still we could get information, as it is a pre-Mauryan site and terracotta figures have been found there. Not only that, coins, pottery, seals, and various figures of wood and bronze also have been found there. So with this we'll move to the next question. So next question is again regarding medieval India. So consider the following statement. It was during the reign of Iltutmish that Genghis Khan reached the Indus in the pursuit of fugitive Khwarizm prince. Okay. Second is, it was during the reign of Muhammad bin Tughlaq that Taimur occupied Multan and crossed Indus. Okay. Third, it was during the reign of Dev Raya II that Vijayanagara Empire that Vasco da Gama reached the coast of Kerala. Okay, you now this question is combination of some information as well as contemporaries, because if you see in this line, each line tells us or asks us in simple statement that did Genghis Khan visited India during the reign of Iltutmish? This is the indirect question. Did Taimur visited India during the Muhammad bin Tughlaq's time? And did Vasco da Gama and Dev Raya II of Vijayanagara Empire are contemporaries? So all the three statements, they are not directly asking they are contemporaries or not, but they indirectly are asking. If you even know that each of these personality either are contemporaries or not, you can come to the answer. So let us first understand the first statement, because from first statement only we are able to come to the answer. In 2001, UPSC asked a question which was, Mongols under Genghis Khan invaded India during the reign of whom? Balban, Firoz Tughlaq, Iltutmish and Muhammad bin Tughlaq. And the answer was Iltutmish. And again after 20 years, UPSC has asked the same question on the same lines, that Genghis Khan. So if anybody, any student, even if he has not read the contemporaries Muhammad bin Tughlaq and Taimur, if he has not read Krishna Dev Raya, even he has not read Iltutmish or Genghis Khan's invasion, but he has done previous year questions, then definitely he would be able to know that the first option is correct. And when you know that first option is correct, you are directly at 50-50%. You have two options with you. So now let's you have two options with you, and then you can select any one option to come at the right answer. So let's come to the second statement. Second statement is wrong here. Why? Because Taimur definitely occupied Multan, but it was during the reign of Nasiruddin Muhammad Shah. And at that time, Muhammad bin Tughlaq invaded and ransacked Delhi. So it was not Muhammad bin Tughlaq. And we also know that Muhammad bin Tughlaq is an important figure of the Tughlaq dynasty. We know Takavi loan system or the plans of Muhammad bin Tughlaq. So if Taimur would have attacked, we would definitely have that information that Taimur attacked during the MBT's time. So this statement is wrong here. Second statement, Dev Raya II of Vijayanagara Empire and Vasco da Gama visited during his reign. This is also a wrong statement again. Why? Because Dev Raya's reign is from 1422 to 1426, whereas we all know that Vasco da Gama reached to the coast of Kerala in 1498. So Vasco da Gama reached India in 1498. And even if you have an decent knowledge about Vijayanagara Empire, the Vijayanagara Empire lasted till 1565, till the Battle of Tilakota. Battle of Tilakota. So from here we could understand that the Dev Raya II's reign was definitely not till 1498. It was just a small span from 1422 to 1426. So the third statement is also wrong, and the second statement is also wrong. The first statement, as we all know, if we would have solved previous year question of 2001, so we would have get the answer. The answer here is only one. That means one only, A. So let's go to the next question now. So the next question is regarding, consider the following statements. First, Saint Francis Xavier was one of the founding members of Jesuit order. Second, Saint Francis Xavier died in Goa and a church is dedicated to him there, and the feast of Saint Francis Xavier is celebrated in Goa each year. Now all the three statements, this question is from current affairs actually, because there was a news which mentioned about the feast in Goa and the relation of Saint Francis in context of Christianity, which is spread in Goa. So but the content of this question definitely is not in any of the like the common resources which we read for UPSC. The level of this question was tough, definitely, but if you have read current affairs, then for those people this question was easy. So let's first consider the first statement. If you come to the first statement, Saint Francis Xavier was one of the founding members of Jesuit order. See here, one of the founding members is written, so you should get an overall idea. They are not saying only founding member. They are saying one of the founding member. So this statement could be correct. There is very high probability that this statement could be correct. Now, the Saint Francis Xavier died in Goa, and a church is dedicated to him here. Now we all know, most of the people who have visited Goa or not, but we all know that definitely that Basilica of Bombdila Jesus is a church which is in Goa, and we all know that it is also a UNESCO World Heritage Site. And here Saint Francis Xavier's like restorated body is also kept. But we here the half statement is also important, that did Saint Francis Xavier died in Goa or not. That will make this statement correct, or that will make this statement wrong. Let's come to the third statement. The feast of Saint Francis Xavier is celebrated in Goa. This is a correct statement. The feast of Saint Francis Xavier is celebrated each year. We all know that each year carnival is also celebrated in Goa, but we fail to understand that feast also is celebrated in Goa. Carnival तो हम सबको पता है कि celebrate होता है गोवा में, but feast is also related to this festival only, which is of like importance of Saint Francis Xavier. So the second statement here is wrong, and why it is wrong? And that's why it is a difficult question. Though that church, Basilica of Bombdila Jesus, is related to Francis Xavier, but Francis Xavier didn't die in Goa. He died in China, in island named as Sancian Island. Later his body was taken to Portugal, and from Portugal again brought back to Goa, and then it was restored. But this is a tough question, and because the second statement, which half part of the statement is correct, but the half part is wrong. So from this we'll move to the next question. The next question is about the Mitakshara and Dayabhaga, the ancestral property rights. This is a direct question, not only from history, but more from current affairs. Why? Because series of news articles were on this issue, not only 1 week, but almost for 2 weeks, regarding the co-parcenary rights. Co-parcenary rights. So this was in Hindu as well as various other newspapers. Supreme Court even gave verdict on Hindu women's inheritance of property, regarding the inheritance of property. So let's come to the question. With reference to the history of ancient India, which of the following statements are correct? Mitakshara was the civil law for upper castes, and Dayabhaga was the civil law for the lower caste. In the Mitakshara system, the sons can claim right to the property during the lifetime of father, whereas in the Dayabhaga system, it is only after the death of the father that sons can claim right to the property. Third, the Mitakshara system deals with the matter related to the property held by male members only of a family, whereas Dayabhaga system deals with the matters related to the property held by both male and female members of the family. Select the correct answer using the code given below. Okay, and our options are 1 and 2 only, 2 only, 1 and 3 only, and 3 only. Okay, so let's move to the question again. So when you come to this question, we have to understand that all the 3 questions has an half, like they are divided into half parts. So first, is Mitakshara a civil law for upper caste? Second, Dayabhaga was a civil law for lower caste. Second statement, Mitakshara system, son can claim the rights during the lifetime of father, or Dayabhaga system says that it can only after the death of father, son can claim to the right to the property. First part, second part. Then even the third statement says the first part, second part. Mitakshara says something that it deals with the matter related to property held by male members only, whereas Dayabhaga system deals with the matter related to property regarding both male and female members of the family. That's why this question, in spite of this question is from current affairs, and most of the people would be able to solve this. They would be knowing about Mitakshara as well as Dayabhaga system. But this question is, the statements of these questions are really very, very difficult. So you have to dismantle this question really very properly. So Mitakshara was a civil law for upper castes, and Dayabhaga was a civil law for lower castes. Okay, either examiner would have interchanged this, or either both of the laws would be for upper caste and lower castes. So this is a logical understanding, because examiner wants some of the students to make this answer right and some of the students to make this answer wrong. We have to understand that definitely there are some twerks in the statements examiner may have done, though the content in these statements is maybe all correct, but examiner may have twerked the data from A statement to B statement, as each statement has been divided into first part and second part and is there in each of the statement. You cannot blatantly apply only or anything, because if you apply only, this answer comes wrong, because second statement has only in it. So do not blatantly apply elimination techniques. मार्केट में elimination techniques मिल गए, इसलिए only दिखा या फिर कोई भी extreme word दिखा तो उनको eliminate करना है, ऐसा मत करना, because the answer may not always come right. So here we have to understand that Mitakshara was a civil law, but this law was for both upper classes also and lower classes also. But Mitakshara was practiced all over India and Dayabaga was practiced only in West Bengal and Assam. So Mitakshara was practiced in all over India except Assam and West Bengal. Dayabaga was practiced in Assam and West Bengal. Second statement, Mitakshara sons can claim right to the property during the lifetime of father. ये सही स्टेटमेंट है, दिस इज अ करेक्ट स्टेटमेंट. मिताक्षरा सेज दैट until and unless like when son, मिताक्षरा जनरली सेज दैट when a son is born, जैसे कि एक फैमिली है and a son is born, as soon as he is born he gets the right to property. Whereas Dayabaga system says that even if a son is born in a family, until and unless his father's demise, he won't get the property or he cannot claim that property. So Dayabaga system says this. So second statement is exactly correct. This is the most crucial difference between the ancestral property in Mitakshara and Dayabaga, where Mitakshara says that as soon as the son is born, he gets the property rights. Dayabaga says that no. Even if he is born, the parent, that means father, has to die. After his demise, son will claim the property. The third statement is wrong here, because both Mitakshara and Dayabaga are somewhat biased against women, though Mitakshara is very orthodox and Dayabaga is very liberal, but yet both as Mitakshara is actually little bit orthodox, it gives lesser rights to female as compared to Dayabaga. Okay, so Mitakshara systems deals with the matter related to property held by male members only. So not both of these, Mitakshara as well as Dayabaga, deals with the matters which are related to male members also and female members also. But the difference is that Mitakshara is an orthodox which gives lesser rights to women as compared to Dayabaga. Dayabaga is little bit liberal in that context. So that's why third statement is wrong, first statement is wrong, second statement is our answer. So we can come to a conclusion that second is the right answer. So with reference, let's go to the next question. With reference to the history of ancient India, Bhavati, Hastimala and Kshemeshwara were famous ... Were they Jain monks? Were they playwrights? Were they temple architects? Or were they philosophers? So considering this, this is a very easy question if you understand, but though people complicate it and some of the students even clicked it wrong. Now you have to understand that each time UPSC asks about the literary works as well as courtyards, poets, Jain monks, UPSC's these topics are favorite in the UPSC prelims. अगर हम देखें तो अल्टरनेट ईयर्स में जैन मॉन्क्स हो गए, बुद्धिस्ट मॉन्क्स हो गए, कोई पोएट हो गया या फिर कोई कोर्ट का कोई ऑफिशियल हो गया ड्यूरिंग एंशियंट टाइम्स, medieval times, even modern times. UPSC has a habit to ask questions over this. So even if you don't know that Bhavati, Hastimala and even Kshemeshwar, who are these, a logical, like if you are well aware about these names, if you read NCERTs properly, you will get an decent understanding that either these may be playwrights, and after reading this Bhavabhuti's name, one can directly conclude that he was a playwright, poet, or anything else, we don't know, but he was definitely a court member. He was definitely a court member of some king. Now, in spite that you don't know the name of the king, so let me make it clear, Bhavabhuti was a court poet of King Yashovarman of the Kanauj. So even if you don't know this exact information, even if you know that Bhabhuti was a court member, he was a poet, so definitely you can come to a conclusion that if he was a poet, definitely he would have written some plays. So the answer therefore here is playwrights. Some of the people also gave it Jain monks and their answer came wrong. But the most logical inference here is that these personalities which are mentioned, they either may be Jain monks or either playwrights. But because we don't, the Hastimala or Kshemeshwara's name have been not referred in most of the common sources. But if you read NCERTs properly, definitely you will get the idea of the name Bhavabhuti. He is a court member of Yashovarman, king of Kanauj. So from this we could come to our desired answer, which is playwrights. Let's move to the next question. So the next question is all about consider the following statements. The Montagu-Chelmsford reform of 1990 recommended granting voting rights to all women above the age of 21. The Government of India Act of 1935 gave women reserved seats in the legislature. So two statements as given, options we all know, one only, two only, both one and two, and neither one nor two. So let's come to the first statement. Now थोड़ा सा अगर लॉजिक लगा ले, द मोंटेगो चेम्सफोर्ड रिफॉर्म्स ऑफ 1919 रिकमेंडेड ग्रांटिंग वोटिंग टू ऑल द वुमेन. तो अगर हम जाने दैट मोंटेगो चेम्सफोर्ड रिफॉर्म्स आर नथिंग बट द फर्स्ट एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव एंड गवर्नेंस रिफॉर्म in the Indian administration, as moderates as well as extremists from 1907 were trying for administrative reforms in the country. Montagu-Chelmsford reform was the first step. So initially सारे women's को ही वोटिंग राइट्स, मतलब ये जनरली ये कहना चाहता है कि यूनिवर्सल एडल्ट फ्रेंचाइज मिल गया वुमेन को, यूनिवर्सल एडल्ट फ्रेंचाइज मिल गया सारे वुमेन्स को अबव द एज 21. दिस स्टेटमेंट इज रियली लिटिल बिट एग्जैगरेशन. मतलब थोड़ा वोटिंग राइट दिया रहेगा बट नॉट यूनिवर्सल एडल्ट फ्रेंचाइज. यूनिवर्सल एडल्ट फ्रेंचाइज तो इवन 1935 में नहीं मिला होगा. तो इस पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से हम फर्स्ट स्टेटमेंट को ईजिली एलिमिनेट कर सकते हैं, एंड देन वी कैन मूव टू द सेकंड स्टेटमेंट. एंड सेकंड स्टेटमेंट इज राइट बिकॉज वी नो 1935 में क्या हुआ था. 1935 वी ऑल नो दैट separate electorate was given and extended principle of communal representation was also given in 1935. So not only women but even backward classes, even laborer or working class were also given the reservation. So as it was a separate electorate, अगर उनको separate electorate दिया गया तो definitely उनको some reservation भी दिया ही गया रहेगा. So second statement is here correct, but the first statement we could eliminate it very easily as I told. बहुत लॉजिकल सी चीज़ है. वोटिंग टू वुमेन जो दिया गया था वो बस कुछ वुमेन को दिया गया था. सो इन 1919 वोटिंग राइट्स टू वुमेन वेर गिवन, बट दे वेर गिवन टू लिमिटेड नंबर ऑफ वुमेन बेस्ड ऑन प्रॉपर्टी, टैक्सेशन एंड पोजिशन. ओके, ऑन एंड पोजिशन. तो ऑल वुमेन मतलब यूनिवर्सल एडल्ट फ्रेंचाइज अबोव द एज 21, डेफिनेटली यूएफ. तो वो तो पॉसिबल नहीं है, वो भी 1919 में, वेर नॉट only all the Indians when considered were given the full voting rights during the 1919. So ऐसा एक decent अगर overall background भी अगर किसी act का या फिर reform का पता चले, you could definitely give the answer. Also other thing for UPSC, all the acts such as Government Act of 1935, Independence Act of 1947, and even Montagu-Chelmsford reforms, all these become really very, very important. So with this we'll move to the next question. So next question is about, with reference to the 8th August 1942 in Indian history, which of the following statement is correct? This is a question regarding timeline. मतलब though the examiner is not asking you directly about the event, but even if you know timeline you can solve this question. This is a very easy question. Everybody knows 8 August को Quit India movement हुआ था. This Viceroy's Executive Council was expanded. दिस इज नथिंग बट ऑगस्ट ऑफर. तो थोड़ा भी किसी ने ऑगस्ट ऑफर पढ़ा रहेगा, वुड डेफिनेटली अंडरस्टैंड सेकंड ऑप्शन इज ऑगस्ट ऑफर. कांग्रेस मिनिस्ट्री रिजाइंड इन 1939. ऑगस्ट ऑफर कब हुई थी? सो ऑगस्ट ऑफर हैपेंड इन 1940. क्विट इंडिया मूवमेंट तो वी ऑल नो 1942, एंड दिस वाज नथिंग बट क्रिप्स मिशन. सो क्रिप्स मिशन तो लेटर पार्ट में आ जाता है व्हेन वी ट्राई टू डिस्कस. क्रिप्स मिशन इज ऑल्सो 1942. सो दैट्स वाई आई वॉज स्ट्रेसिंग हियर ऑन इम्पोर्टेंस ऑफ टाइम लाइन. देखो सारे डेट्स और सारे डेट्स बहुत काफ़ी पास है, नज़दीक है. दो दिस क्वेश्चन वॉज वेरी वेरी इजी, वी आर ट्राइंग टू अंडरस्टैंड व्हाट इज इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर यूपीएससी ऑल्सो. बस 8 अगस्त को मुझे पता है कि क्विट इंडिया मूवमेंट हुआ है, so answer is 1 and we won't move to the next question. Try to understand that the timeline from 1940 to 1947 is really very very important. Why? Because each year has some important events. अगर हम लिस्ट निकालें 1940 to 1947, more than 15 events, 15 to 20 events हुए 1940 to 1947. देर आर सीरीज ऑफ इवेंट्स, आई कैनॉट इवन काउंट. अगर बताने जाऊँ तो ना गवर्नमेंट एक्ट ऑफ इंडिया से स्टार्ट कर सकते हैं. गवर्नमेंट एक्ट ऑफ इंडिया 1935, देन पूना रेजोल्यूशन, देन ऑगस्ट ऑफर, फिर बात करें तो डिमांड फॉर पाकिस्तान, देन क्रिप्स मिशन, देन क्विट इंडिया मूवमेंट, देन INA रिबेलियन, सो एंड सो, देन देसाई लियाकत पैक्ट, कैबिनेट मिशन, वेवल प्लान, टिल इंडिपेंडेंस एक्ट ऑफ 1947. तो इतने सारे इवेंट्स हुए एंड यू हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड ऑल दिस इवेंट्स बिकॉज these events have occurred only in 7 years. So this time span becomes really very very important. So now as we know the answer, let's move to the next question. So coming to the next question, in the first quarter of the 7th century, in which of the following was the factory of the English East India Company located? Now this is very very generalistic question, though the level of this question is very very tough. लेकिन अगर जनरल आइडिया है तो एक स्टूडेंट, वेल अवेयर स्टूडेंट सॉल्व कर सकता है. इफ़ यू गो आफ्टर नॉलेज तो कितनी बुक्स पढ़ोगे? मतलब यू कैनॉट रीड हिस्ट्री इग्नू, यू कैनॉट रीड बिपिन चंद्रा, और यू कैनॉट रीड एवरी क्वेश्चन. लेकिन अगर आपने मॉडर्न इंडिया की, बिपिन चंद्रा की ओल्ड NCERT भी पढ़ी है, ओल्ड NCERT, you can come to a logical deduction here and you can get your answer right. Why? In the first quarter of 17th century, which were the factories were established in the East India by East India Company? Now बिपिन चंद्रा में क्लियरली मेंशनड है 1615 को थॉमस रो आए थे. ही वॉज द एम्बेसडर ऑफ जेम्स वन. ही गॉन टू कोर्ट ऑफ जहांगीर, जहाँ पर जहांगीर साहब ने उनको कुछ प्रिविलेजेस दिए टू सेट फैक्ट्रीज. उन्होंने 2-3 लोकेशंस पे फैक्ट्रीज सेट किए and those factories were in बरोच में. उन्होंने 1623 में एक फैक्ट्री इस्टेब्लिश की बरोच में. ओके, बट द चिकाकोल एंड त्रिंचिपोली, व्हाट अबाउट दीज लोकेशंस? नाउ बिपिन चंद्रा से ये तो आपको पता लग जाएगा दैट 1615 में Broch was the location where East India Company established its first factory in 1623. So Broch में अगर उन्होंने establish किया, what about Chikkakol and Trinchipalli? But again there's one more logical deduction. If you read the same modern NCERT, you could understand that all the Carnatic wars, when we read all the Carnatic wars as well as Anglo-French wars, we understand that Trinchipalli was one of the centers or capitals of the France or French, and where French and British had a war, they had a war for this acquisition of Trinchipalli also. So Trinchipalli was also a French territory and Chikkakol also was a French territory. Because why? So French were granted some rights from the Nizam, and when Nizam granted them rights, they established their territories or even factories in Mustafanagar, Ellore and Rajmundry, which is and even the northern Sarkars. And there's where the place Chikkakol is. So both of these regions, Chikkakol and Trinchipalli, are related to French, whereas Broch is related to British. So first is the correct answer here. Now let's go to the next question. So now this is again a timeline question. Even contemporaries are important, or background knowledge of ancient and medieval read or dynasties is really very very important. पूछा गया इस क्वेश्चन में, डिक्लाइन ऑफ गुप्तास अंटिल द रीन ऑफ हर्षवर्धना. हर्षवर्धना का एम्पायर स्टार्ट होता है 606 से. ओके, एंड डिक्लाइन ऑफ गुप्तास इज फ्रॉम 550. ओके, इस बीच के टाइम में व्हाट वेर द पावर्स विच अरोज्ड इन द नदर्न इंडिया? ये क्वेश्चन है. So the question is, which were the powers which rose in northern India after the decline of Guptas and until the rise of Harshvardhana. Okay, so the options here are given: Guptas of Magadha, Paramaras of Malwa, Pushyabutis of Taneshwar, Mokaris of Kanauj, Yadavas of Devgiri, and Maitrakas of Vallabhi. Okay, this is an elimination method, but let's try to understand one of the basic things. If we want to find out the dynasties or kingdoms after Guptas and before Harshavardhanas, definitely those would be either feudatories और वसल्स ऑफ गुप्ताज ओनली. मतलब इधर वो गुप्ताज के वसल्स रहेंगे, फ्यूडेटरीज रहेंगे, या फिर गुप्ताज के ऐसे छोटे किंगडम्स रहेंगे जो कि गुप्ताज को होमेज या फिर ट्रिब्यूट देते थे. क्योंकि व्हेन गुप्ताज ट्राइड टू डिक्लाइन, देन ऑल दिस स्मॉल किंगडम्स वुड हैव बिकम इंडिपेंडेंट, एंड till Harshavardhana's rise, they ruled after the decline of Guptas. So let's first understand first option, the Guptas of Magad. So these Guptas are different from the mainstream Guptas. So definitely ये Guptas छोटे kingdoms रहेंगे, तो the first is logically correct. Guptas of Magadhas were the feudatories, of Magad only. Those were the ancillary kingdoms which used to pay the tribute to the main Guptas. Then Paramaras of Malwa will come to this option next time. Let's see Pushyabutis of Thaneshwar. If we see Pushyabutis of Thaneshwar, after the fall of Guptas, there was a rise of Pushyabutis of Thaneshwar. Okay, and Maukaris of Kanauj are nothing but those rulers. Those also rose and they made Patliputra as their capital. Patliputra is the same place where Guptas were ruling, right? But after decline of Guptas, the Maukaris, the subordinate rulers, replaced these declining Guptas and made Patliputra as their capital. And Maitrikas of Vallabhi are nothing but the tributary chiefs of Guptas. जो मैंने कहा था, tributary chiefs or feudatories or vassals, these of Guptas. Now what about Paramaras and Yadavas of Devgiri? If you eliminate 2 and 5, you get the answer. The answer here is B. And why to eliminate 2 and 5? Because here we are talking about 7th century. We are talking here about 7th century, right? Decline of Guptas and rise of Harshavardhana. तो हम बात कर रहे हैं फ्रॉम 5th century to 7th century. लेकिन अगर हम ध्यान दें, इवन इफ यू हैव सम कंटेम्प्रेरी नॉलेज रिगार्डिंग किंगडम्स, तो the Paramaras are from 19th to 14th century. Very after 2-3 centuries, Paramaras come into play. Then Yadavas also are from 12th. Yadavas जो है, they are from 12th to 14th century. They are too much ahead from this period which we are talking about. So you can definitely eliminate Paramaras as well as Yadavas and come to the answer. So that's why contemporary knowledge is also really very important, or at least timeline is important to come to an answer. So now let's go to next question. Who among the following is associated with the songs from prison, a translation of ancient Indian religious lyrics in English? Now this is a question which you don't find in common sources also. On the top of that, this is again one of the toughest question in the history section as well as art and culture section. Now why? Because logically अगर इस क्वेश्चन को डिसमेंटल करने की कोशिश करें, सिंपल सी बात है, songs from prison would be written by somebody who would have either gone to prison due to some reasons, and it is also a religious lyrics. So from that we can come to a conclusion. Now, but apply logic here, because Bal Gangadhar Tilak has also written many things, Jawaharlal Nehru has also written many things, Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi also has written many things, and Sarojini Naidu was one of the poet of the country. So सब लोग literary works में contribution सबका है. You cannot eliminate, you cannot pick any one personality and just give the answer. Most of the people made it wrong by giving the answer Bal Gangadhar Tilak, though it was very logical to give answer Bal Gangadhar Tilak. Why? Because 1920 में sedition charges लगे बाल गंगाधर तिलक को. He was made to move to Mandalay for those sedition charges. वहाँ पर बाल गंगाधर तिलक जी ने गीता रहस्य लिख दिया. ये सब ने पढ़ा रहेगा, गीता रहस्य लिख दिया. नाउ अगेन गीता रहस्य इज रिलेटेड टू रिलीजियस लिरिक्स, तो सबको ये लगने लगता है दैट मे बी बाल गंगाधर तिलक इज द करेक्ट आंसर, बट इट इज नॉट द करेक्ट आंसर. करेक्ट आंसर हियर इज मोहनदास करमचंद गांधी. And why? Because Mahatma, the life of Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, has been written by Dinanath Gopal Tendulkar. So writer also is different here. So Gandhiji and his life, as well as some religious learnings from Gandhiji, have been mentioned in his text. Now coming to these personalities, we have to understand कि गांधी जी ने क्या क्या लिखा. उन्होंने माई एक्सपेरिमेंट्स विथ ट्रूथ लिखा, हिंदू स्वराज लिखा, उन्होंने न्यूज़पेपर सच एज यंग इंडिया, इंडियन ओपिनियन, नवजीवन ऐसे लिखा. सरोजिनी नायडू जो कि पोएट थी, उन्होंने स्पेक्टर्ड फ्लूट लिखा, फेदर ऑफ डॉन लिखा, गोल्डन थ्रेशोल्ड उनकी बहुत मतलब चर्चा में जो पोएम है गोल्डन थ्रेशोल्ड वो है. जवाहरलाल नेहरू जी ने बहुत ही बढ़िया 2 किताबें लिखी है, डिस्कवरी ऑफ इंडिया एंड ग्लिम्सेस ऑफ वर्ल्ड हिस्ट्री. बाल गंगाधर तिलक, कॉन्ट्रीब्यूशन इन केसरी एंड मराठा, आर्टिक होम ऑफ वेदास, गीता रहस्य जो कि मैंने मेंशन किया. सो दिस क्वेश्चन इज रियली वेरी वेरी टफ. अंटिल एंड अनलेस यू डोंट हैव complete knowledge regarding a question, don't blatantly eliminate any serious option and give the answer कि इसका ये आंसर रहेगा तो मैं दे दूंगा. It's better to skip rather than risk yourself for 1 or 2 questions because negative marking can take a toll. and जब जहाँ पर आप क्लियरली कट ऑफ के ऊपर जाने वाले हो, आप बॉर्डर पे आ सकते हो ऐसी गलती की वजह से. सो लेट्स गो टू द नेक्स्ट स्लाइड. So with reference to the medieval India, which of the following is the correct sequence in the ascending order in terms of size? वेरी इजी क्वेश्चन अगेन फ्रॉम एनसीईआरटीज. इसमें कोई डाउट नहीं है, ये एनसीईआरटी है, कोई भी एनसीईआरटी पढ़ लोगे आपको पता लग जाएगा. जनरली दिस इज अ पॉलिटिकल डिवीजन ऑफ एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन ऑफ मुगल टाइम्स. ओके, सो हमें असेंडिंग बोला है, सो फ्रॉम स्मॉलेस्ट टू लार्जेस्ट. एम आई राइट? अब हम सबको पता है सुबह तो बहुत बड़ा चीज़ हो गया. सो आपका ऑप्शन में लास्ट चीज़ सुबह ही होना चाहिए. तो जिस बंदे ने सुबह पहले रखा है, बिकॉज वी ऑल नो सुबह मतलब सूबेदार, सरकार उसके नीचे और परगना उसके नीचे. दिस इज द डिवीजन. सो जनरली मुगल्स में कैसा होता था, सुबह वॉज डिवाइडेड इनटू नंबर ऑफ सरकार्स एंड ईच सरकार वॉज फर्दर डिवाइडेड इनटू नंबर ऑफ परगनास. ओके, तो यही है इसके पीछे लॉजिक. देर इज नथिंग मोर. इट्स अ डायरेक्ट हिट क्वेश्चन, इट्स अ लो हैंगिंग फ्रूट इन यूपीएससी जो आपको डेफिनेटली ग्रैप करना चाहिए. अगर ये गलत हो गया देन इट बिकम्स वेरी वेरी डिफिकल्ट. बट यहाँ पर लॉजिक मैंने समझा दिया. सुबह का हेड शिकदार रहता था एंड शिकदार वॉज एन रियली अ इम्पॉर्टेंट फिगर इन मुगल एम्पायर. तो उससे आपको लॉजिक लग जाएगा कि यस, सुबह इज मच मोर बिगर रीजन देन सरकार एज वेल एज परगना. ओके, सो लेट्स गो टू द नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन. सो हमारा नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन ये है कि who among the following was associated at the secretary of Hindu female school which later came to be known as Bethune female school? So ये भी एक डायरेक्ट हिट क्वेश्चन है. दिस वाज वेरी इजी क्वेश्चन. अगर आपने मॉडर्न इंडिया अपना स्पेक्ट्रम बुक भी पढ़ा हो, आप इजीली इस क्वेश्चन को सॉल्व कर सकते हो. इसका आंसर है ईश्वर चंद्र विद्यासागर. अभी इट्स अ वेरी इजी क्वेश्चन. एक्चुअली जनरली बैतून फीमेल स्कूल में जब हम ईश्वर चंद्र विद्यासागर जी के बारे में पढ़ते हैं, बैतून स्कूल फीमेल स्कूल का नाम आ ही जाता है. हु इस्टेब्लिश्ड बैतून फीमेल स्कूल? ये बैतून स्कूल जो था वॉज इस्टेब्लिश्ड बाय ड्रिंक वाटर बैतून. बट ईश्वर चंद्र विद्यासागर उनके फ्रेंड थे एंड ही सपोर्टेड हिम टू स्टार्ट दैट फीमेल स्कूल. और फिर ईश्वर चंद्र विद्यासागर जी को ही इस स्कूल का सेक्रेटरी बनाया गया था. तो इससे आंसर आ सकता है. इट्स अ वेरी ऑब्वियस क्वेश्चन, इसमें कुछ अप्लाई करने का वैसे था नहीं, बट जनरल चीज़ें पूछी गई थी. एप्लीकेशन ऑफ नॉलेज देख सकते हो आप. हमने ईश्वर चंद्र विद्यासागर को तो पढ़ा है, हम ये भी जानते हैं कि बैतून स्कूल इज रिलेटेड टू हिम. तो व्हाई टू टेक चांसेस विद अदर ऑप्शन? ये लॉजिक है यहाँ पर. बैकग्राउंड नॉलेज एंड एप्लीकेशन ऑफ नॉलेज टू सॉल्व मल्टीपल क्वेश्चंस. अंडर द सन, एवरीथिंग अंडर द सन इज देयर इन यूपीएससी. इसका मतलब ये नहीं है आप सब पढ़ो, बट थोड़ा पढ़ो लेकिन अप्लाई इट विद द नॉलेज, राइट? सो लेट्स गो टू द नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन. In the context of colonial India, Shah Nawaz Khan, Prem Kumar Sehgal and Gurbaksh Singh Dhillon are remembered as ... Direct hit question फिर से. These were the officers of Indian National Army. अब सपोज किसने स्पेक्ट्रम नहीं पढ़ना है और तुमको पढ़ना भी नहीं है, फिर भी ये क्वेश्चन सॉल्व हो सकता था. कैसे? ये क्वेश्चन पूछा ही इसलिए है क्योंकि 2020 में राग देश नाम का एक मूवी आया है. राग देश. I don't know many of you would have seen this movie or not, but this movie is regarding the same trial of 3 personalities, that is INA trials, and this was produced by Rajya Sabha TV. दिस वॉज प्रोड्यूस्ड बाय राज्यसभा टीवी। तो अगर आप बिग पिक्चर देखते हो या फिर कॉन्स्टेंटली राज्यसभा टीवी को फॉलो करते हो, राग देश की जो एडवर्टीजमेंट थी या फिर ट्रेलर था, वो हर 10-10 मिनट्स में राग देश का ट्रेलर आ जाता था राज्यसभा टीवी में बिफोर द रिलीज ऑफ दिस राग देश मूवी। सो इवन इफ यू हैव नॉट रेड अबाउट दिस शाहनवाज, प्रेम कुमार सहगल एंड गुरबख्श सिंह ढिल्लोन, ये एक बहुत अच्छा पर्सपेक्टिव है दैट करंट अफेयर्स में राग देश ये मूवी था INA ट्रायल्स पे, और उससे ये क्वेश्चन बनाया गया है। एंड इफ़ यू वॉच्ड इवन राज्यसभा टीवी प्रॉपरली, तो ये यही है कि अवेयरनेस इज मोर इम्पॉर्टेंट, कि आप अवेयर होने चाहिए थे कि राज्यसभा टीवी इवन गलती से किसने ब्लिंक ऑफ द आई चालू कर लिया और देख लिया बिग पिक्चर, और तब ऐड आ गई राज्यसभा टीवी पर राग देश की, एंड यू गॉट टू नो दैट दिस 3 पर्सनैलिटीज आर रिलेटेड टू INA ट्रायल्स। ऐसा, बट ऐसा होगा नहीं, मोस्ट ऑफ द पीपल हैव रेड स्पेक्ट्रम, सो मच ऑब्वियस आंसर विच इज द ऑफिसर्स ऑफ INA। Okay, let's go to the next question now. So the next question tells about, with reference to the Indian history, which of the following statements are correct? The Nizam of Arcot emerged from Hyderabad state. The Mysore kingdom emerged from Vijayanagara empire. The Rohilkhand kingdom was formed out of territories occupied by Ahmad Shah Durrani. Okay, all the 3 statements. Select the correct answers using the code given below. Okay, तो अभी इसका आंसर ढूंढना है हमें, लॉजिकल डिडक्शन करेंगे। आर्कोट का जो एम्पायर है, मतलब क्या है, एवरीबडी नोज कि जो तमिलनाडु रीजन है, मतलब जो कर्नाटिक रीजन है, अभी का जो कर्नाटिक रीजन है, वॉज फॉर्म्ड फ्रॉम द आर्कोट रीजन। ठीक है, सो जनरली अगर मैं इसका आंसर बताने जाऊँ तो इसका बहुत ही अच्छा लॉजिक है। इसका लॉजिक ये है कि आर्कोट रीजन एक प्रोटेक्टेड रीजन था हैदराबाद स्टेट का। ओके, इट वॉज अ प्रोटेक्टोरेट रीजन ऑफ हैदराबाद स्टेट, बट नवाब सदातुल्ला खान became independent out of Hyderabad state and established the Carnatic Empire, and then was followed by Dost Ali Khan. ठीक है, and then Carnatic battles as we all know, Dost Ali Khan, Tipu Sultan, etc etc. तो इससे हमें ये पता चलता है फर्स्ट इज करेक्ट। सेकंड, द मैसूर किंगडम इमर्ज्ड आउट ऑफ विजयनगर एम्पायर, ये भी करेक्ट, दीज आर ऑल्सो करेक्ट। वाई? बिकॉज मैसूर किंगडम, वुडियार्स, अगर आप कर्नाटका के किंगडम्स देखो, वुडियार्स इज वन ऑफ द डायनेस्टी। विजयनगर्स के फ्यूडेटरीज थे वुडियार्स, एंड आफ्टर द फॉल ऑफ विजयनगर एम्पायर, वुडियर डायनेस्टी ने मैसूर किंगडम का इस्टेब्लिशमेंट किया। लेकिन ये थर्ड जो ऑप्शन है दैट इज रॉन्ग। वाई? बिकॉज अहमद शाह दुरानी ने इंडिया को इन्वेड किया 1748 में, वेर एज रोहिलखंड का किंगडम है, इट वॉज इस्टेब्लिश्ड इन 1721। हम वी ऑल नो दैट मुगल्स स्टार्टेड डिक्लाइनिंग इन 1707। वाई 1707? द डेथ ऑफ औरंगजेब। उसके बाद के ऑल द रूलर्स वेर फीकल रूलर्स, दे वेर नॉट एबल टू कीप द एम्पायर टुगेदर। तो दिस ऑल्सो लेड द इंडिपेंडेंट रूलर्स टू इस्टेब्लिश देयर ओन किंगडम्स। सो एट द सेम टाइम इन 1721 रोहिलखंड ने खुद को इस्टेब्लिश किया, और बहुत सालों बाद फिर अहमद दुरानी ने इन्वेड किया इंडिया में, दैट इज इन 1748। अगेन इट इज़ अ कंटेम्प्रेरी क्वेश्चन, मैं इस चीज़ पे आना चाहता हूँ। यू शुड नो अ जनरल टाइमलाइन। अगर जनरल टाइमलाइन भी पता हो, यू कैन एलिमिनेट द ऑप्शन। सो द आंसर हियर इज ए। ओके, सो लेट्स मूव टू द नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन। Okay, the last question is, which of the following statements is correct? Ajanta lies in the gorge of Waghora. Stanchi Stupa lies in the gorge of Chambal. Panduleni caves. Shrine lies in the gorge of Narmada river, and Amravati Stupa lies in the gorge of Godavari river. So all 4 options are given. So Ajanta caves lies in the gorge of Waghora. So regions which are residing to the rivers, this has recently in last 4 years a favorite topic of UPSC, अगर हम try to understand. So 2019 में भी same question पूछा गया था। उन्होंने religious places पूछे थे which are on the banks of the river, और again here in 2020 we see here the question of ancient places or maybe the heritages or the sites of heritage and the residing river. So here answer clearly is Ajanta caves. इट्स अ वेरी इजी क्वेश्चन एक्चुअली। नितिन सिंघानिया, जब हम पढ़ते हैं आर्ट एंड कल्चर का, अजंता केव्स के बारे में उन्होंने कहा है कि इट लाइज इन द जॉर्ज ऑफ वागोरा। वाई स्तांची स्तूपा इज नॉट करेक्ट, बिकॉज स्तांची स्तूपा लाइज इन द जॉर्ज ऑफ बेटवा रिवर, चंबल रिवर नहीं, बेटवा। और स्तांची का लोकेशन अगर मध्य प्रदेश में हम देखें, मध्य प्रदेश का जो ऊपर का सेक्शन है स्तांची यहाँ पर नहीं लाई करता है, विच इज़ द चंबल रीजन ऑफ द मध्य प्रदेश। तो यहाँ से आप इसको एलिमिनेट कर सकते हो। पांडुलेनी क्रेव्स अगेन इन दीज आर इन महाराष्ट्र, लेकिन एक आइडिया लगा सकते हो, पांडुलेनी जो पांडुलेनी केव्स है, दीज आर इन नासिक। तो इवन इफ यू डोंट नो कि पांडुलेनी केव्स के नज़दीक की रिवर कौन सी है, विच इज़ एक्चुअली गोमाई रिवर, वन ऑफ द रिवर है गोमाई, बट इट इज़ नॉट एनी बिग रिवर एज कम्पेयर टू अदर रिवर्स ऑफ महाराष्ट्र। बट स्टिल आपको पता तो होना चाहिए व्हेन वी रीड नितिन सिंघानिया कि पांडुलेनी केव्स आर रिलेटेड टू नासिक, और नासिक में नर्मदा, इट बिकम्स वेरी डिफिकल्ट जोग्राफिकली। तो ये थोड़े अगेन अवेयरनेस वाली चीज़ें होगी, तो सेकंड को एलिमिनेट। एंड अमरावती का भी सेम लॉजिक है, अमरावती स्तूपा लाइज इन दी जॉर्ज ऑफ कृष्णा रिवर, नॉट गोदावरी रीजन, कृष्णा रिवर। तो ये लॉजिक था। सो विद दिस वी कम टू एन एंड ऑफ ऑल द क्वेश्चंस ऑफ हिस्ट्री फ्रॉम यूपीएससी सिविल सर्विसेज प्रीलिम्स एग्जाम ऑफ 2021. I hope you liked the lecture, and reach us down in comment section. We will continue our series with previous year's questions in the same subject wise manner, but we need your response, and we'll come with the same logic, same applied knowledge, and with this we would see a transformational change in ourselves. We could guarantee that after 1-2 months definitely we would have that confidence कि अगर कोई भी क्वेश्चन है we would be able to reach at the answer with a logical deduction. So thank you. See you next time.